Greetings, cardboard fans. Welcome back to Hot Cardboard. Hope everybody's been doing well out there. It is a pretty active and exciting time in the cardboard industry, hobby, universe. Much of my time in the past, I would say 3 years or so, has been dominated by a focus on TCGs, in particular Pokemon, but also several others as well. And actually, a lot of my content since I've come back to recording videos has been focused on TCG stuff. But there is certainly a very large sports card industry out there in which I spent the vast majority of my interest and effort from about 2017 until about 2023 or so when I started getting the TCGs. But I'm still relatively active in kind of collecting and accumulating sealed sports cards. Particularly, I never really was super into single sports cards, and I have to say I had a very rough experience as a Yankee prospector. The Yankees are my favorite baseball team, and at some point after Judge kind of blew up in 2017, I decided that I was gonna like buy every Yankee prospect that it was basically had autographed cards. So a lot of these guys that came up in 2017, 2018, 2019, who had cards all over Bowman products and other prospect-oriented products from Topps. I bought lots of cards of. So Clint Frazier, Gleyber Torres, Justice Sheffield, if you remember that name. Perhaps you're a Seattle fan, where he was traded out of the Yankees organization. All of these names and many more I bought a lot of autographed, rookie and prospect cards of, and I just lost my shirt. I mean, just about every single thing I bought is worth $0, and that was probably several $1,000s of just Gleyber Torres stuff. So that among a few other things really kind of cemented my existing preference towards sealed products, which although they are certainly subject to the performance of the key players inside, they're much less likely to rise and fall based on a single player. For example, Wander Franco, who appears in a 2019 Bowman. The 2019 Bowman baseball release that once upon a time was worth like I don't know, $1,500 a box, and now it's probably worth about $100 a box. And I have two sealed cases of those, which fortunately I bought probably for like $1,300 a case. So I'm doing all right on those. But at one point those cases were probably I don't know, $10,000 plus $15,000 cases. But I kept them because I'm an idiot. But you know what? I also kept cases that had Shohei Ohtani rookie cards in it, and so you win some and you lose some. But in any event, my focus, for those of you new to the channel here, is in accumulating sealed sports cards and holding those items for the longer term. We'll call that anywhere between like 3 and 10 years, and selling them after they've appreciated a fair bit. So the focus of today's video is on 90s era basketball, in particular, sort of like the mid to late 90s, the sort of Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan rookie era, where you had those two Hall of Famer legends with rookie cards, but you also had a ton of cool Michael Jordan base cards, tons of really interesting and creative inserts of him, some of which are extremely rare and therefore incredibly valuable. And this is an era that I think is sort of its own little niche within, basketball card collecting, and even within modern basketball collecting. Um, it's sort of it's the, I don't know, I consider it kind of, it's not quite like vintage, which would be like 80s and earlier in my view. And it's not quite, not modern because, Tim Duncan was playing not too long ago. And, a handful of other players also that were rookies in this time, retired in the last 10 years, we'll say. So it's a really interesting kind of era, but I think the focus primarily is on the inserts that were, just sort of scattered all over these products from the mid to late 90s, both in basketball and in other sports. But the focus here today is on basketball because we are seeing some very significant price movements just in the past, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks on a lot of sealed and individual cards in this era. And I want to talk about that in case you have some of these cards lurking in your collections, or if you go to, hobby shops that have, cards sealed or singles from this era and, may not have realized that there's been a rocket ship that this stuff has been on in the last several weeks. Perhaps you can pick up some stuff, at more reasonable pricing than it sits today. So let's just jump right into it. So the items you see before you um, are things that I kind of want to focus the discussion today on because they'll give us specific examples to look to in terms of looking at price movements. But just very briefly, all of the single cards you see here, these are all Jordan cards that I picked up in the last couple of years, I would say, and they all have price stickers on them. And I'm not going to really, look up prices on those. I am going to show you some price movements on some of the sealed items, but basically all of the single cards that you see in this video, which I've held for, anywhere between probably 12 and 18 months. All of these things have doubled or more in price from the sticker that's on them. And I think that I actually got most of these like in a group purchase where I probably paid a little bit less than stickers. So single cards, particularly of Jordan, but also of Kobe and LeBron and the other kind of mega stars that have exposure, in the late 90s or early 2000s, which is the case for LeBron. All of these cards are really just popping off right now, and this is mirroring exactly what happened back in the COVID boom, where this stuff just, was absolute magma. It was so hot. And, after the bubble burst of COVID era sports card pricing, much of this stuff, really kind of fell back to earth. I mean, I remember the PSA 10 86 Fleer Jordan rookie card was, it was like, oh man, I want to say it was like, depending on just exactly when you check the market, it was like an almost $1 million card. It was like $500,000 to $1 million at its height. And, it dropped very, quickly after the bubble burst in that sort of, I would say, early 2021 time period. It came crashing down and was like $150,000 before you knew it. Curious to see what those are going for now, actually. While I'm babbling here, I want to look it up on eBay and see if I can find a recent sale. But in any event, the point was that, we've seen this kind of crazy, parabolic growth in the basketball card market. And it has been sort of eventually, popped this bubble. But I think that what we're seeing now is likely to be a much more stable and probably long-lasting price appreciation based on more fundamental kinds of considerations such as rarity and demand, instead of just sort of temporary, introduction of a lot of new participants in the market looking to kind of quick flip stuff. Buy it one day and sell it the next, or buy it one day and sell it the next week. That kind of activity, while, it's always going to be present when you have a very sharp upward curve in the growth chart of prices for these cards. I think that a lot more of that activity was underpinning the growth that happened during the COVID era, and I think less of that is going on now, or at least less of it is driving a lot of the price movement in this particular increase that we're seeing in the last, really, I don't know, last 6 months, I would say. This increase in prices in all the single cards and more recently sealed cards from this era. So I just looked at Michael Jordan cards, and there's an 86 Fleer PSA 10 listed, I think, for $250,000 on eBay, but I have no idea if that is going to get that price for it, or if that's just a kind of a wish. But there's nothing in the sold, probably because these level, a card at that level is being sold in a more traditional auction like an REA or Golden or something like that. So, all right, with that, I want to talk about the sealed stuff, because this is something that I've picked up on, based primarily on stuff that I own, but also just because I watch this stuff generally. I really love, a lot of these 90s products, because this was a period of time where I really wasn't collecting. I went to college in 1994, and cards were, pretty far from my mind at that point. So a lot of this stuff from this era is stuff that came out when I just was not at all interested in collecting cards. I would not have seen a lot of these things in stores because I just wasn't going to card shops really very much. And so for me, it's kind of a missing era of my collecting, and I find a lot of the inserts and a lot of the just packaging and marketing around these products to be really neat and fun to see, just kind of as a historical matter. So the first box I want to talk about is this one I have 4 of here. And this one I actually picked up during the COVID era boom, because I was sort of looking around for any kind of 90s sealed basketball that was relatively cheap, which is like less than $500 a box. And I think I got these for like $250, maybe $275 a box. Probably somewhere in like 2019 or 2020. It was probably 2020, kind of like during the height of the COVID boom, and everything basketball was just going bonkers. The basketball market in general was very hot. It was like the hottest thing during the COVID boom, amongst all of the many things that were hot in cardboard collectibles. So in any event, I picked up 4 of these for $250 each, and for the longest time, they did go up. I think probably to like $500 or $600 a box during the COVID boom, and I thought, okay, great, that's wonderful. I've made a nice little profit there. But then after the bubble burst, they actually came down to like $350 or I don't know, $300 or something. It's like just barely over what I paid for them, so low that if I sold them on eBay, I would be taking a loss with the fees. So, I put them away and forgot about them, as all good investors should do, I think, in this collectibles world. But I put them away and, hope that someday the market might be more appreciative of them. And I would check on them every once in a while. And I think I generally saw them going for like somewhere between $400 and $600 over the past several years. And just sort of imagine that it might take a long time for them to appreciate more significantly beyond that. By the way, these are retail boxes, not hobby boxes. So let's take a look at the pricing now for these boxes here. So we're going to use eBay, and I believe eBay shows you like 90 days of history. So the most recent sales will show first, and these most recent sales are actually quite dated. They go back to middle of June, and if I'm reading the market right, I think that the prices on these things would be much higher today than they were a month ago. But even a month ago, these boxes were selling for $2,500 or so on eBay back in June. And I want to kind of go back. There's another one from mid-June for $2,600. This kind of horizontal box is a first of all, it's a Series 2, but second of all, it's a hobby box. So that's what the hobby boxes look like. These boxes that are long are the retail boxes, but no, these are exact. This is all right. That's series 2 of the retail. But I want to see if I can find some older sales of this exact item. Okay, there's the exact item. And that's actually from June. So somebody put this up, basically not realizing what these were going for. Sold it for $1,000, but I think actually we'll find a lot of other. That's a series 2. A lot of other examples of these boxes, if we go back far enough, where they're selling for $1,000, which is a far cry from the 2,500 that they most recently sold for in those first auctions that appear at the top of the page. So that kind of shows you those are April and early May. Actually, no, those are the wrong ones. This one, oh, well, this is June 27th. So again, that was one that we think is probably somebody mispricing. Oh, well, that's June 27th too. Very interesting. I'm destroying my narrative here, but what I was imagining I would see if I scrolled back, 60 to 90 days ago, is sales of this particular box going for quite a bit lower than those $2,500 prices that we're seeing most recently. But unfortunately, I'm not seeing really any older sales. So I'd have to do like deeper research. You can search auctions, whatever, like 10 years ago, if you use the tool that's available to people who have seller stores on eBay. But I'm not going to do that now. I have to log in and stuff. So it's funny because I sort of wondered what might be driving this if it was a particular card. And this listing says Maximum Metal Jordan. And I want to look up the price movement on this card because that might tell us something. Yeah, so it looks like it's a die cut card, and there's raws selling just in the last, actually these are earlier today, $250. So I imagine as a PSA 10, and I don't know if there are parallels of this. I'm not seeing any. And there's a 6 for $225 just a few days ago. There's a 9 for $1,200. I'm guessing a PSA 10 is probably like, thousands of dollars. So that might be the most valuable card in this set. And there's other Jordan inserts in this set as well. Actually, I feel like one of them might have been one of these individual cards that I had up. Oh, actually. Yeah, here's one of them. I'll show it to you. So this right here is the Nuts and Bolts Jordan insert from the 95 set. So that is one of the cards you can get in there. And there are others, I think, as well, other insert sets in the product that feature Michael Jordan. So that, I think, is probably driving a lot of the interest in this particular box and in other similar boxes. So let's next look up this one, which is 97 Topps Finest basketball. My box is unfortunately a little bit beat up, but nothing too major, just not as minty as one would like. But that's a box I've held since, oh man, I think I bought that in like middle of 2019, like before the COVID boom, because it was at a card show, and I'm guessing I paid $200, $300 for it. And it was one that did go up to like $1,000, I think, at its height in the COVID era. But then, came kind of crashing down along with everything else. So that's kind of the history of it. And I did look this up, so I have a sense of what they're selling for. But other than, looking it up for this video, I didn't really have any idea. And sure enough, there's one. This is a Series 1, just like mine. It's over $3,400 like a week ago. Here's one from the middle of June. So this boom, it would seem, maybe started, about 3 weeks ago, we'll say. Because look at this, June 22nd, it's $3,900, but June 15th, it's $2,700. So I don't know. This is a best offer, this is a buy it now, and this is a an auction, so that could explain the difference. But if we go back to May, it's like a $1,900 box, another kind of close to $2,000 box in May, another 1,900 box in April, and there's one from June that was up to 2,500. So it does seem again here that, like, if you go back a month ago or a month and a half ago, things are selling for like 40 to 50% less than they're selling for now. So this has been a very, very quick uptick in the market, and these are the boxes that I have in my collection. So I looked up those, but I'm sure that every other box, I mean, we could look at, I don't know, let's just look at 1997 Topps Chrome Basketball and see what we see. So here's a sale from July 10th, $1,600. This is the same box. The lighting is hitting them very differently, but this one is from June 20th, which is kind of when we saw a lot of sales. I wonder if there's like a massive buyout or something that happened right around June 20th, but this is $2,100. These are both, oh no, this top one is an auction, and this one is a buy now. But oh wow, look at that. And then in April, there was a sale of this box for $3,000. So it seems like this one is actually going down if we believe all of those prices. However, there are, if we go back to April and May, $1,500 boxes and $1,900. But it's curious that I think the most recent sale is one of the lower ones here in the last 2 months. So I'm not sure if I can get a read on the market for this particular one, but suffice to say, this box will not be coming cheap. Now I want to actually look at what the lowest listed is on these, because that sometimes will give you, yeah, so there's ones listed for $2,200, and if I'm not mistaken, that's the same photo. Oh, maybe it's different. Okay, it's different. But you can buy them for $2,200 now. They've sold as high as, it looks like, I think it was $2,100 or $3,000. There was a sale. So, yeah, I don't know. I will say that the prices on these boxes are, pretty friggin' pricey. And I doubt they'll be going down anytime soon. So this is actually one, I think I saw a series 2 of this one for sale for like under $1,000. A lot of times the series 2 are not as interesting because the Jordans are often primarily in series 1, and if there's no good rookies in series 2, it will be useless. This is the box that has Kobe Bryant Topps Chrome Rookies, which is a very, very valuable card, particularly in high grades. So yeah, I don't know if there's really a kind of universal chart. Man, it's showing me a lot of the same stuff. So there's really not a lot of Topps Chrome Basketball sealed boxes from the late 90s for sale, because I do a search for 1 year and it shows me the same stuff that it showed me for my search in the other years. So this is for sale items too. So if you see anything you like, God bless, go and get it. But in any event, suffice to say, sometime after, we'll say April of this year, there was a pretty big uptick in, kind of higher end sealed basketball products from the mid to late 90s. And if you're not aware of it, or if you weren't aware of it before, you are now, and that might guide some of your purchasing activity, or going what you shop for if you're going to card shows or local card stores. And so yeah, that's what we got for today. All right, folks, thanks for checking the channel out. We will see y'all next time, and until then, have a good one. Bye now.